Yesterday's right to peaceably assemble has given way to a declaration of civil emergency and mass arrests today.
Your conduct is in violation of state and city law, and your failure to leave the area now will subject you to arrest for failure to disperse.
The stance of the city and the state is vastly different, with State Patrol and National Guard backing up the Seattle police. Innocent bystanders walking along the sidewalk are getting tear gassed, and while the governor made assurances this morning things are back to normal, they're definitely not.
The state of emergency was just an hour old.
The state of emergency that they've been training for so long to deal with. Who was behind it? What caused it in Seattle in December of 1999? The World Trade Organization meeting. The riots, the supposed riots, and the military and police working together to keep the public safe from all that evil rabble. We're going to go in depth. This is a perfect textbook example of problem, reaction, solution. Training the public that the wheeled tanks keep us safe. But first, we have to examine the World Trade Organization, the WTO, to understand what happened in Seattle. The World Trade Organization was created in 1995 by the same institutions, the same powerful central banks that created the United Nations and empowered it in the late 1940s. They seek to destroy national sovereignty, not just in America, but worldwide, and rein it in under the control of a huge dictatorial machine. And their track record is clear. They are nothing more than servants of the corrupt global establishment, serving their every whim, dividing up the property on the global plantation. If one reads the different trade agreements that have been pushed by this World Trade Organization, energized in the last 5 years to world prominence, one realizes that it's nothing but a tool for consolidation. There's one catch. In recent years, the WTO, since its inception, has come across incredible opposition worldwide because of its obvious authoritarian implications. That's a hard thing to deal with when you've got highly motivated people that have real complaints and valid issues. How do you deal with it? Well, you simply call in your friends, the left coast communists posing as anarchists under Delta Force direction.
Broke windows at the Gap, they're smashing windows at McDonald's, they're dumping over garbage cans. And they are very angry again and hostile. We're seeing more clashes with other protesters telling them to stop because they're giving everyone a bad name. None of the protesters, the legitimate protesters down here, want any of this kind of action. And they are very angry.
So right now, knocking on the newspaper.
Megan, any sign yet of police trying to track them down?
There's no sign of police anywhere. They're going like... They're breaking the bank window here at U.S. Bank. We got to get out of here. We're going to run up the street because if they see us, they attack us. And so we're keeping a safe distance away from them.
Several police officers have told us because they were assigned to control the protest crowds, they weren't allowed to break ranks and to stop the black bloc. So the group just continued destroying property for nearly an hour.
What's wrong with this picture? If the police are supposedly there to protect the public and property, then why? Why did state police, Seattle police, as well as the feds, stand back and allow the anarchists en masse to run around and throw bottles at police, cones, rocks, you name it, and assault private property as well as members of the general public? Because they needed someone to demonize the rest of the good demonstrators. Now, my friends, this was an old tactic throughout history. If you have opposition, you simply demonize them by creating your own crisis, your own massacre or terrorist bombing or incident, and then blaming it on your political opponents. When you have 50, 60,000 peaceful demonstrators out exposing the corruption, how do you neutralize them? Well, you simply send in your boys to create a crisis, to offer a solution. Now, we're not saying that local police knew what was going on. Certainly not. They just were following their orders, which is frightening in and of itself, to let a bunch of anarchists, 30 or 40 of them tops, run around and burn and break things because they were ordered to do so. We're going to play you some little clips from newscasts and some amateur video Then we'll move into even more evidence that this was a government action. You see, the anarchists were actually given their own operations base, even during the curfew and civil emergency that was declared after their attacks. Boy, that was a good excuse to clear the streets. But first, watch just a small snippet of a local newscast that, of course, never went nationwide. Can't have the people finding out about what really happened. It's very revealing how the police just go along and allow this criminal activity. Then we'll get into who was behind it and how most of the anarchists are just useful idiots working for their provocateur bosses, and on into the state of emergency that was declared, and how not just Seattle but the nation was trained to accept armored personnel carriers and police in black uniforms, as well as National Guard being directed by the FBI and the Justice Department and Delta Force, is all part of living in a safe society to, well, protect us from those dangerous anarchists.